We're balling out, then killing the lights this week as preview season comes to an end. Join us for the Pioneer League preview this week on the Indie Ball Report podcast. Back again, episode number 272 of the Indie Ball Report podcast. We have the Pioneer League to talk about this week. Ain't that sense?
Shoday frees me up to do my Pecos League preview on my channel.
Please tell me you're not engaging in such degeneracy.
I'm not. I will highlight like players to watch and stuff like that, but I'm not going through team by team. I don't think I can at this point. I will seemingly sleepwalk into traffic.
Also, it's going to be kind of like that Always Sunny in Philadelphia bit where you try to hang yourself, but your neck's too thick for the rope.
Neck's too thick for the rope. Yeah.
Right. You okay?
More like
yeah, he's still fine.
Yeah.
And this is just sad at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty much the energy. As you get deeper and deeper into league preview season, it's like, oh boy, people start texting you asking if you're good. Why would I not be? All right. Looks around me.
You can always call this number if you're in mental distress. Then you start talking to them about the projections for the the Tucson Saguaros, and they just start losing interest, and they're like, you know what, we're going to leave you to your own devices. Whatever happens. Good luck.
Man, shout out Tucson Saguaros, though. Nice, maybe nicest ballpark in outside of like the main indie leagues.
The core four, some would say.
Yeah, the core four. Thank you.
But yeah, we have to get through the other three teams in that core four before we get to our leagues. God, not teams.
I was going to say, am I going to get to correct you? No, I'll let it ride.
No,
I'm certainly going to make sure I say something to ruin any potential edit for you.
Oh yes, we should open up with this. You don't have any EPA reports this week, correct?
I do not. I do not plan on doxing anybody, but we'll see where things go.
Damn milk drinkers.
Who knows where this lighting conversation could end up? Milk drinkers. I'm over here, cow.
It's funny because of the milkmen too, so it adds to the layer of comedy.
Yeah, man. A lot of butter tugging.
I bet. So on that note, let's go to the league that those utter tuggers are in, which is the American Association. A lot of stuff happening there this week, you know. Apparently, we had teams being forced to forfeit a game for using ineligible players and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, can't do that. Not clear which player it was. We have some theories, though. We're looking at Yermin Lara. Is that correct? We kind of land on that?
Yeah, he's the main guy. Released the same day as the game that was forfeited, but he did pitch the same day. So unless he was released after the game, then it would have to be him being ineligible, seeing as his contract was terminated and he still pitched. But it could also be, the catcher that came off the inactive list. Could be him as well.
He played the day before. So I think it's more likely Lara, and maybe it was an 11 a.m. game. I could see it messing with some timing, and maybe it was just paperwork wasn't supposed to go through yet on the release, and it went through, and there you go. That's how I end up with an eligible player. I want to say an eligible receiver. I can't say that. That's not what that is. If it was the catcher, maybe, but no.
Either way, a big no-no from them, and as Bovine said, #woof.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a huge deal. I mean, this is something worth keeping in mind, like during the playoff race for sure. Like if that game looks relevant, but I don't. It's so attention grabbing once like a game has to be forfeited because of like a roster violation. But it seems like, oh man, someone got caught. It's probably just paperwork stuff, and you have to enforce it as if there was malintent in case. So that when it is attempted with malintent, they cannot argue that it wasn't, because even if then it wasn't, it would still be punishable. So that's the thought process. I get it. I mean, Lake Country, again, still a newer organization, newer faces around there. Everyone's trying to get the lay of the land, a lot of roster shuffling early in the year. I could see it happening, especially with the 11 a.m. start time that day.
Which even the statement from the league said no malice was intended, but they still got to do it this way. So that says there. But I will say my immediate reaction to seeing that was, an ineligible player we can immediately do something about, but an organization that has allegedly abused employees, we can't touch that. No, that's too
The
much.
Sports Business Journal would say otherwise. So I think,
Hey, the
all good
Sports
there.
Business Journal held their awards tonight in New York City, and Roger Goodell was there, and Rob Manfred were there. Beacons of moral virtue.
Yeah, I mean, nothing to see. Nothing to see at all, my guy. Though, of course, it is interesting to note the team that benefits from this would be that same organization.
It certainly would.
Who seems well taken care of within that league. But who's to say? Don't believe your lying eyes.
Let's actually talk about on the field play. How about that?
Yeah, let's go.
So, any real headline grabber so far from the association, in your opinion? Because so far to me, it feels like we have a lot of mid teams cooking early on.
Yeah, so cards on the table, I'm not as checked in on like the going news because I've been finishing up the last previews for the year. So I've been watching a lot of games, but not necessarily tracking the plot lines. I will go to, did anything jump out at you while I scroll back over my own notes here that I kind of jotted down while I was watching games?
Honestly, the only thing that really jumps out is that everybody's essentially in the same boat. Everyone's within 2 or 3 games of 500 at this point. It's just all clogged up here. Lincoln on a losing skid isn't great, and Gary being their usual selves, is what it is. But a lot of just like 7-5, 7-6 type of records here. Nobody really jumping out. If anything, Chicago being 7-5 and tied for first in the East is a little bit interesting. I didn't expect them to really at any point be at the top of the division. I think we covered that pretty well in that preview that we weren't exactly high on them. Obviously, a guy like Narciso Kruk is leading the way there. He's having a hell of a start to the year. I think he's got 5 or 6 home runs at this point. So that is certainly a surprise to me off the bat. But outside of that, nothing except for the fact that all these teams are very close to each other is jumping out at me.
Yeah, usually I would start pulling some top performers. I'm going to go back to doing that next week. But the plots that I've kind of been following is Cleburne had that really weird start to this year, man. Like, I don't know that we really talked about a lot last week, but essentially they go 4-0, lined up perfectly with my the American Association preview I did, where I was like, yeah, like extolling the virtues of Cleburne and how good their lineup is. And then they won their 4th game there against Winnipeg to start the year, 1-0, and that kicked off a stretch of 3 runs in 5 games when they lost the next 4 of them. So it went right back to 4-4. Then they took 3 in a row, 2 against Lincoln, 1 against Sioux Falls, in which the last 2 games just scored 19 runs. And then they lost 7-4, 1-12-1, looked fully back. Offense looked better today. They lost 14-5, got worked by Fargo, but they were coming off of a long, it was a Sioux Falls 1 p.m. game into a 7 p.m. game with Cleburne in Cleburne the next day. Yeah. So that was a tough turnaround for the Railbirders. So I'd look for maybe some better results tomorrow night. But yeah, it's interesting just to watch, seeing for a second there, it was like, I don't know that I've seen offense look this bad. I think I had something about how bad that run was too. The stat line was absolutely brutal from those games. Like, saying 3 runs in 5 games didn't actually do it justice too. I think they had like 6 or 7 hits through those 5. Like, at one point in those games, like, maybe it was 10 hits across 5 games. It was ridiculous. Like, it was a hard watch, my guy. It was pretty. Yeah, here they went 3 runs on 16 hits in 5 games, slashing 106, 190, 166 slugging. They had 2 extra base hits in those 5 games. It was like, damn, son. All right.
Yeah, which on the flip side, that King County's been really good at the plate so far this year.
Yeah.
Over 800 OPS, batting 280 as a team, 183 total bases. Like, that is a solid slash line so far going through the year.
Definitely. And that's really good to see because, battling in that division, like, there's not a lot of time to waste. Like, they got that offense going and they're still sitting 4th right now. Like, yeah,
in fairness, they're half game at a first. So,
half game at a first. And, that's not true. Because I think about how competitive the top 4 in that division are. And I don't think as much about the fact that, like, Lake Country and Gary are the 5 and 6. Yeah. So in reality, they can get away with it. But, like, if you want, your pick of who to face in the playoffs and where you kind of have to make moves. And, Yeah, I mean it's competitive. Boy, Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee, King County. Every once in a while it's like that. I'm like, dang, that's the top four. But yeah, there's no way to say it without sounding dumb, but they came out swinging, haha. But like they did, and that's really good to see because I don't know, they weren't really the team you tag as powerhouse. They had the good pitching going for a while last year, but you know, you don't know. It's good to see that they seem to have invested in the improvement there.
Yeah, it's just their pitching staff got to get a little bit better, get it together.
Yeah.
More. Like they're just a very average pitching staff so far. I mean, 18 home runs in 13 games. It's not exactly great, but they're also not really like, it feels like when they mess up bad.
Which is crazy because they were so good last year. For those who don't remember, I mean, they had a 4.19 ERA. League average ERA was around 5. Like they were very good.
Yeah.
And then they do seem as big as an improvement as the offense have had. It feels like a big step back. I know they have lost some pieces, and there were some guys who I kind of kept an eye on early in the year as somebody who I'm like, yeah, they might have overachieved last season, and I think that might be checking out. But
I mean, a guy like Fox regressing doesn't help either, and Weston Muir regressing doesn't help either. Mm-hmm. Those are two major contributors that aren't performing right now.
Exactly,
3 starts apiece, and losing Alex Troop to Chicago. The Chicago NL organization, major league organization, not dog organization.
It just thinning an already thinned group.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, realistically, you look at their starters, it's like, okay, Nick Belzer's got to carry the load here, and he's a guy that, frankly, I like better as a relief guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it shows already. I mean, about 5 innings and then 6 innings in his 2 starts. He's not going to carry you more than really 1, maybe 2 times through that lineup. So you got to really start picking and choosing.
Yeah. There is the feel, I think, and I'm pulling up what some other games look like. Is again, I go through this thing, especially at chaotic parts of the year where like everyone's starting up and there's a lot of morning games going. And those are games I watch just about every morning game, if you can't tell, because I can throw it on while I work. But it does feel like when I see King County games, it feels like they're having trouble making 9 innings connect, like on the pitching side. Like there seems like there's a point in a lot of these games where, you're looking out the bullpen, you're like, who is available? Who didn't throw yesterday? Like, for instance, like they looked great, 3 scoreless innings out of the bullpen on, what's today? Thursday? So that was Wednesday.
Well, now it's Friday, but yeah.
Oh God, don't remind me. And then they got, some good innings out of the bullpen again today, but I'm like wondering like who's going to be good to go tomorrow. Like I'd be interested to see if they cough up some runs. Like listeners, you now know maybe they coughed up some runs on Friday, which is a sign of trouble. If not, maybe that shows they're starting to find some roles and a rotation that works.
They won't. They're playing Gary, to be honest with you, which is that's going to age poorly once they do cough up those runs. But
Gary has had some. I mean, they've had a few games though recently where they have. I mean, take out the first 5 games, which were pretty low scoring, but like since then, I mean, sure, they lost 3-0, 5-2 to start, and then they had 2-3-2 losses in a row. But then they've had a 9-run game, 4, 7, then shutout. Oof! But they put up 15 a couple games ago. They put up 9 2 ago. So I mean, look,
Sioux City's not been
show up. Sioux City's pitching has been weirdly bad too.
Yeah. Which just to wrap the point on the Kane real quick here. Yeah, they play a 9-6 game against Gary. They win that, but the day before they play a 9-0 shutout over Kansas City to salvage that 3-game set. Like it's just such a weird.
It's an odd team, right?
Yeah, like the offense is not ever really a problem here, but then the pitching's hit or miss. Like
in a way,
goes to 6 strong innings there.
Yeah. In a way, they give me some, I don't even know, because as I look at it, I poke more holes in it, but some, like almost Southern Maryland, I don't know if that's the best 1-to-1, but like there's a couple teams out there that, they'll go on a skid and then they'll absolutely pop some team that's much better than them to like salvage a game out of a series. And like, what the hell was that? Like,
well, Lancaster
will do that. I always feel we're grouping Lancaster in like that because they've won those 2 championships in a row, but we've talked about before, like their record was about 500 between those 2 years. So yeah, they're not really, which that's another conversation to have, by the way, that Lancaster team. But for now we can stick American, but yeah. Though There's a few. I mean, Winnipeg's pitching looked really good too to start here.
Yeah.
Not to gloss over them. I had a no hitter in the 7th today, and then I kind of fell apart on them.
Yeah, I wonder why that happened.
That's on me. That's my bad. Was it 2 minutes later?
Yeah.
Tweeted it and it was done. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
That's on me, Joey Matalovich.
Yeah, last negative bit here. I will just point out with Gary, I do still think they're going to get together here, but you can't allow your opponents to hit 275 off of you and slug over 460 on you. That's not going to play. Now, they still don't have the worst ERA in this league. There's 3 teams worse than them. In fact, Lake Country has an ERA over 6 and has allowed 22 home runs in 13 games. So watch that. But yeah, Gary is an interesting team. Gary, I don't know what to make of them.
Yeah.
Because really, you take out that 5-game skid to start the year, which I know, you just take out the worst part of their season and they get better. Duh.
Pretty good.
Exactly. You just ignore the bad stuff, then they're pretty good. But, I mean, they are a 500 team. If you ignore a bad skid here, which include a pair of, walk-off wins in back-to-back day games, or at the very least 1-run losses in back-to-back games. So, I mean, they weren't getting blown out in that 5-game stretch. Their worst loss was the first 3 to Chicago by 3 runs.
Yeah, they kind of had the Winnipeg thing of they had the close losses, the 4 close losses, then 2 big wins.
Yeah.
That's I'm just looking into one thing real quick, which is the home run total is, I'm trying to think how wild it is. It's a little wild. King County getting up 18, still having an ERA under 5 is kind of wild too. That's pretty crazy. For me with Lake Country, I might do, if that trend holds another week, I'll do a deep dive into what's going on there. Cause I'm wondering if it's like a pitch mix thing. Like if it's a lot of high fastball guys and but they're just not getting enough velo to it or something like that.
Could be.
You find a lot of that. Okay. So here's something I've noticed, and maybe it's less. No, it could be across the American. I noticed it a good bit in the Atlantic, and maybe again, it could be because I look for it, but then, it's like you look for it and then you see it everywhere. But a lot of guys, especially guys who came into minor league affiliated, teams when teams were really pushing the high fastball.
Yeah.
And then they didn't have the velo for it, but, teams kind of insisted like that's the way we're pitching. And then they kind of bring that same mentality here and like, you step up from like low A, single A, maybe even high A to one of these indie leagues. And like, it goes from being like, hey, you're giving up doubles a lot and you're having troubles getting strikeouts to like, you're giving up jacks. And I'm wondering if maybe that's something that's happening over there, but I can't off the top of my head think of pitch mixes on basically anyone like Country right now. So a lot of good all that time's done me, but I noticed it happening in the Atlantic League. So I'll do maybe some looking around and see if that's something there or if they're just running into some barrels.
Sounds like to me like Jack Kelly's got to get busy on American Association Savant. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be thrilled about that. We are currently aware of technical difficulties with the game broadcast. Flow Sports and Flow Baseball also aware. Long Island Ducks.
$30
a month.
Yeah, Flow's been having issues all day. Hell, they'll probably still have issues when this gets released.
All forever. Fools. And I love that, like, Long Island specified. This is a Flow issue. They're aware of it. Like, cooked.
You gotta appreciate just how willing Long Island is to throw some people under the bus.
I know. There's the same people who feel like that would fiercely defend Flow. I don't know. There's been an attitude change from them lately. It's fascinating. That's a different conversation, but that's not really interesting enough to be on the air type conversation, I think. But there's something to it. Seems to be a different vibe over there. Yeah, I don't know what else. I'm just scrolling through some of the American Association games I've seen. Nothing else jumps out right now. We'll do more in-depth conversation on it next week because we're finally out from under the looming presence of the previews.
Yeah, it's hard to say sometimes with these, but just early on, those are just some of the notes I see. All right, so on that note, I do want to just point out one other thing real quick, though. Fargo-Cleburne could be a very cool series this week.
I know. Yeah, that's a good. We should maybe next week we'll start looking at some series we're looking forward to, especially since we're doing the top 10 rankings now.
Oh, yes.
Then we can sort of highlight some of those because I think we got a couple top 10 matchups this week that I kind of let slide.
Definitely. Honestly, and going to the Atlantic League here, the one I'm watching in the Atlantic League this week is Staten Island York.
Yeah, could be a banger. Going to learn a lot about both of those two.
And that's one that could really matter down the stretch, too.
Agreed. Yeah.
Speaking of Staten Island, biggest surprise so far of the year? Is it Staten Island?
Hard to say, because we did say preseason, like, this is a much improved team.
Yeah.
They are getting worked by Long Island today, but for 2 in a row, I think, too. So that's not great.
Yeah. Plus the Flav, they're, what was it, 15-10 record, 15-11 record. A lot of those wins came from a 6-game sweep of Hagerstown. So, I mean, like, how valuable is that? We'll talk about Hagerstown a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have to. Can't not at this point.
Yeah, but still,
schedule for anyone
win streak.
Anyone curious, they dropped 3 out of 4 to Charleston, swept Long Island, dropped 2 out of 3 to Southern Maryland, 2 out of 3 against Long Island in a win. They won 2 out of 3. I meant to say. Took 2 out of 3 from Lancaster, swept Hagerstown in 6, and then they just got swept in a 3-gamer by Long Island. So that's why I'm hesitant on Staten Island. I think Staten Island is about what we assess them as, like the most improved team in the league for sure. But I don't think they're that guy yet. And honestly, if you ask, I don't know, I don't want to speak on but I think if you asked Mark Minakazi, I don't think he would tell you that his team is going to be a division champ this year. I think their goal as an organization is to be reasonable and to compete. And that's certainly what they've already done. Like they put up a much better fight, and it seems like they're going to be a thorn throughout the whole playoff race. And I've pointed out a couple times, they were 2 weeks away. They were, I think, right around first with 2 weeks left to go in the second half last year. And then they kind of got sideswiped by life and the rest of the division. But this should not be that surprising. I guess all that to say, if we're talking about what is surprising, there's a few directions to go within just this league. I guess Lexington's not a surprise. I'm surprised by how lost Lancaster seems. When I saw Lancaster show up what looked like light for spring training, I was kind of like, all right, but like it's second half Stormers, Yeah. But listening to their broadcast and like talking to some people around that team, like it seems like there is like a legitimate search for answers.
But it's a good group of guys.
Weird for I'm not touching it for 25 games in. Like I don't know. It does not seem like the vibe is comfortable over there. It does not seem like a team that's won 2 straight championships, I guess. They just got swept by Gastonia, just lost 2 of 3 to York. Oh, I'm sorry, just lost 3 of 4 to York after losing 2 of 3 to Southern Maryland, 2 of 3 to Staten Island, 2 of 3 to York. You got to go. They have now lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight series. You got to go back to the Lexington series to get to one they won again. And then the only 2 series they've won this year, Hagerstown and Lexington, the 2 worst teams in the league.
I mean, like, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's good, but again, like when it comes
the only
to
teams with worse records, by the way.
I'm still not going to react to anything Lancaster does until it's the second half.
Okay, fair.
Like I've buried them before. I've said whatever about them before. Mm-hmm. They're clearly a team that thrives for the second half, plays for the second half. Mm-hmm. I'll worry about the second half. Although in the pre-show, you did mention an interesting point of not a lot of returning guys from that championship team are here. So that is interesting to me, but even still, like, I don't.
Yeah, and I'm not sitting here at all saying Stormers are done. That's a silly take at this point. That's not what I'm thinking. But what I am thinking is they seem, considering how known they are for being a second half team, they seem a little less comfortable with the current situation than you would think. And that's what makes me think maybe there's something to worry about. And honestly, they just haven't been competitive. Like, it's not like they're battling close and, having just missed at the end. Like, they lost by 3, 3, and 4 to Gastonia, which isn't bad, but it's also like, it's not like, one home run or a bloop and a blast and we're there. To York, they lost 13-3. That's right. The one was a makeup game. So technically, they did just lose 2 out of 3 in that one. They did win 13-12, and they lost by 3, lost by 6. Like, not really 1-run losses. You got to go back about 2 weeks to find something that close. Yeah. So that's where it weirds me out. It just doesn't look like a competitive one. It almost feels like a throwback to early 2021 when like they were just like not a good team. They had those like weird strike zone games too with the RoboZone, but like the fan energy doesn't seem as into it on like the feeds. Like I'll be there next week, so I'll kind of get a better feel for it. But like I don't know, it just doesn't seem as something's missing in Lancaster right now. I don't know. I cannot figure out what it is.
Mm. I mean, they're also playing.
The barn is missing.
Wouldn't that be funny if that's the thing that does them in? They don't win again until they go back to the old logo.
The Amish.
That Amish magic's gone.
The Amish magic. I don't think they're allowed to believe in magic, my guy. But anyway, yeah.
See how they do against Sling Island.
Hagerstown, dude.
Yes.
This seems bad. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
But they're getting worked like a lot.
Well, how many in a row have they lost now?
Is
it still
no,
8?
They have, as of a few minutes ago, a 1-game winning streak.
Hot damn, they're back.
Which is another conversation, the fact that Charleston's fallen off and they're struggling without all those guys who got signed.
Still hitting 847 though. OPS.
Yeah. I mean, the hitting hasn't really been that issue, like if we're honest about it. That pitching has been a rough ride a couple times, especially. I mean,
who needs to pitch when you can hit?
I mean, yeah, Lexington's pitching is still worse. So there is that. But they are, they got an ERA over 6 right now. Boy, Lexington's almost a run worse. Goodness.
Is that bad?
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, no, I did actually write that down here. Lexington, 7.13 ERA, full run worse than Hagerstown.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, and we'll talk about how good Gastonia High Point is at some point, I'm sure, but that's unsurprising. But, I mean, I didn't expect Hagerstown to be that good. I guess the positive is Hagerstown's better than Staten Island was year 1, right?
Yeah,
family that way.
True.
So there is that. It's just I don't know. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You're asking Mace to put together a team. It's not even like he's coming from an Langley team where he's in the clubhouse and like has a bunch of guys, like how Mark keeps bringing in the same dudes, Mark Minikazi, like from team to team. But like Mark Mason, like, what are you going to bring a bunch of the Empire State guys? That's a tough ask. Like not to hate on Empire State
race.
Like, you know what I mean? Like to step straight into an Langley.
Yeah, when you have to build it all from scratch and you can't even bring any guys from your last gig over, it does make it significantly more difficult.
So I guess what I'm saying is it's rough. It is bad for sure, but it's also not unexpected. Like this is not like, whoa, they're behind where they should be. They're actually ahead of where some of these other new teams have been of recent ilk. So,
and see, that's the thing with me is like, I don't really know if I should react to how bad they are on the field. If for no other reason than I don't really care what they do on the field this year as much as I care about them getting it right off the field.
And their attendances look good, by the way. Not every game, and obviously they had the weird sort of soft open. But I've seen a couple games where they look like they had a good crowd. I mean, yeah, not bad. They're not in the top half attendance wise, but they're also getting. They're not in the top half average attendance wise, but I don't think average attendance is taking into consideration the soft open. So if we break down the fact that they probably had 4 or 5 games with like full crowd, maybe 6, and they're sitting at 20,000 fans, like that's not bad, dude.
Yeah.
They're probably rolling about 2,000 or 3,000 a game on average. Now, of course, it's loaded on a couple nights and days, but hey. My bigger concern is Gastonia's attendance is still terrible, and same with Staten Island.
That's fair. Yeah, Gastonia is off the field wise a very concerning situation.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hear anything like we did like previously there were no signs of issues, but there were massive issues. And finally everything hit the fan at once. Now I'm not hearing about any issues, but where you can kind of see like, well, attendance isn't up. Like I'm hoping they don't need a quick turnaround profit wise. I'm hoping they know it's a long game. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they are experienced donors at least, so I like to think they know what they got into.
That's true. That is a very good point. Where that ownership group, we spend a lot of time talking about them. They are probably one of the best ownership groups around at the moment. So that, and also I didn't realize. I guess Sony is 9-1 their last 10.
Yeah, man, they're nasty. They're really doing it. Like they're back again. Surprise, they're back again.
Yeah. The whole South Division is really just generally competitive. Like, yes, Charleston's fallen off. They've been raided to hell and back, and they're still treading water.
Southern
Maryland's not bad. Yeah.
Still the best offense in the league. Added Courtney Hawkins this week. Hawkins home his first game. Classic. Dude's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, best ERA in the league and best runs per game allowed and best runs per game scored in the league right now. Guess. Nope, that's a lie. Sorry, Charleston's best runs per game offensively. My brain just scrambled the hell out of that. They're actually middle of the pack offensively, which is kind of surprising. But now they're going the pitching route. We kind of saw a hint at the pitching route last year, and now they've transitioned from base stealing team to power team to pitching team. Parkour.
Adaptability is the best ability.
That damn Brady Salisbury's caused some trouble.
That Salisbury boy's up to it again.
Oh, man. Yeah, so, I mean, quick look. I mean, Staten Island they entered the night in first place. I'm going to say, oh, man, basic math's going to hurt. Not a good vibe.
So math always ruins the vibe, though. We know this.
I know. Idiot. Standings. There we go. So that leaves York up in first. Tied for the lead with Staten Island at 15-10. 2 games back, Long Island, then Lancaster 4 behind them, and then Hagerstown. And then Gastonia's up by a game and a half now over High Point, 2 games over Charleston. Then Southern Maryland and Lexington's 10.5 back. Lexington holding serve, though, 3-7 in the last 10. That'll keep it close. Attaboy, Lexington. Way to battle. We're way. They got their first home win. Dustin Beggs looked nasty yesterday on bump. Love a Beggsy start. So there. Lexington, don't come to me saying you don't get your shout-outs. You get your flowers.
I'm just going to totally distracted most of this conversation, but
that's fine. What you got?
Oh, nothing related to this.
Okay. Electric.
Yeah. See, I was going down the rabbit hole on Point Streak, and then I clicked one thing, and one thing led me to another, and now I'm looking at merchandise for the Pensacola Ice Flyers.
Oh, that's something. That is quite a bit of a distance there.
Yeah, so that was why I was distracted there. But yes, I'll try to get back engaged in my own show now. With simply,
it's a lot to ask.
I know it is. Staten Island, I'm interested to see what winds up happening there. Maintain over the long haul, but steady improvement is, encouraging to see. I think Charleston's going to find a way to just keep slugging their way into competition. I still will say their best shot is through a wild card. I just think that Gastonia, for whatever struggles they constantly have off the field, will always be good on the field, so they're not going to give up any breathing room there. And High Point is still the second best team in that division. However, the South Division is among the most competitive in indie ball to this point. I would probably put them at the second most. That's because I think the Frontier League West is slightly more competitive. But overall, they're going to need some pitching to get together. Lexington is just a disaster on the mound. Dustin Beggs can only do so much. There's a couple other guys there that are, trying to do their best. But, I mean, let's be real. Again, they're kind of in the Hagerstown camp of get it right off the field and then let's reassess and reattack here. While they're not a first-year franchise, obviously, they have a lot of rebuilding to do with the community there. So if you view it as year one with just some marketability and brand recognition-wise, it's a win if you just put on a good product, rebuild the trust in the community, which that ownership group already has done a great job with to a certain point, at least, and is poised to actually fix things. I'll call that a win. There's a lot of teams, I think, in the Atlantic League that's hard for me to really engage with as a baseball club when I just know, the victory here is not on the field. Let's fix off the field, and then we can really focus in on the field. Because it's just it's the focus.
It's funny. It's 30, maybe even more % of the Atlantic League right now.
Yeah,
it all falls in that category. I don't know what that says.
Yeah, linked there that I just sent you.
I appreciate that about you.
Yes.
Let's see. Anyway, should we talk Frontier?
We might as well get to the Frontier League. I think there's some interesting. So, Frontier League wise, West is really living up to the hype. Lake Erie, big surprise so far with the way their season started
Mhm.
out. Washington, an 8-game heater. Now, I will say, while winning 8 games against anybody is impressive, it's hard to do. New England is not exactly the toughest of opponents, right? So that does go as a mark against here. And some of the other teams they've played haven't exactly been, the highest caliber opponent. Their losses came to Schaumburg, which is a team of equal record, but maybe not equal quality as it turns out here. But still, 8 games is 8 games. I will give them that. I mentioned a second ago, Lake Erie at 8 wins. That's extremely surprising to me. I wasn't expecting them to come off this hot. Although when you deep dive into them, they do have pieces that are really, really nice. I wasn't expecting there. Windy City being a competent ball club is kind of surprising to me. Like, I know it's a low bar and it's harsh to say, but like, we had a conversation 2 weeks ago about them being like, is this just like a cap team where it's like, let's manage the money here? And for them to come out and like admittedly struggle against teams like Florence and Tri-City, not great, but they picked it up against, like Erie and Gateway, which I consider to be meaningful opponents.
Right. Windy City is interesting. I've actually watched, because as you know, I pay very close attention to my morning games. Yes. I've been impressed with that team. They battle back. I've watched a couple come from behind games with them. There's just like there's a lot of fight in this team. Like I don't know. The vibe is good. Like when you're watching a game in like the 8th inning with them and they're within 3, you're like, all right, like I'm not clicking off this one. Like there's still some action to be seen here. So it's one of those weird ones you can't really quantify, but it's just like for a new manager with a bunch of guys who like haven't had success in a while, and a team that hasn't had success in a while, like to have that kind of vibe with that team is really impressive. So something's going on there. I don't know if it's
I do like Bobby
construction wise or like clubhouse wise. Honestly, I think we had a good conversation about we think Bobby Jenks is the kind of dude who can like rally some troops at this level and like really support some guys, and maybe that's early signs of what we're seeing. I don't know. I hate to be like, oh, we were right like 2 weeks into the season. I'm not going to say that because I'm going to end up wearing it, but it's just all right. Like I'm very interested in that team. It's maybe the most interesting team to me so far, and that's not just because they're the most prevalent member of the coffee cup at this point.
Yeah, I like Bobby Jenks as a manager a lot. I think he's proven that he can win. Now that was in the Pioneer League, but I'd almost argue it's tougher to win the Pioneer League than the Frontier League, just because of how unknown all the caliber player is and what you're getting there. And a lot of those guys are a lot more raw. So I don't want to say this is easier. I mean, Windy City is not exactly an easy situation, but still, I'm impressed with this. I don't have high expectations for the whole year. I still don't know if I believe in them. But if they can continue to play about 500 baseball the whole way, even if they're not a playoff team, I still think that's a really good year for them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just to have a year where they're not, trying to avoid the basement is a win. I think that's, just from a organization standpoint and like, even I'm thinking off the field, like a ticket selling standpoint. I know a lot of people don't care about how well the team actually does, but like, dude, it's so much nicer to sell like a competitive team. And like, it is a different energy when someone leaves the ballpark after a win, whether they're super invested in the team or not. Like it just adds to an overall picture of competence, which is very helpful when you're trying to get repeat customers. Yeah, I'm rooting for this. I'm not showing favorites and anything, but like, this is something that I'm like, I think this is good for indie ball. If Windy City has a bit of a resurgence here, it'll be really fun. I'm in. I'm very interested, and their games are entertaining to watch. I don't know. I can't really put a name on it, so I'm struggling a little bit. But there's something going on there.
Yeah, 2,300 a game too on average so far this year. So that's a nice sign.
They are getting helped out by a lot of kids' games. I think, like school games.
Fair, but even still, take what you can get.
Yeah, fair enough. I can go with you there.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Lake Erie before we really head on there, or Washington even for that matter, before we talk a little bit about the East?
Yeah, I mean, Lake Erie's dropped a couple now in a row. I see warning signs around them a little bit. I'm not sold, as the record would indicate, but I agree. I'm still pleasantly surprised by how they're doing. Joliet's had a nice little bounce back. That looked really concerning at 3-7, but they got a couple wins in a row now, so that helps them. Scrolling it down, New England is. This is a two-parter. One thought is, wow, New England's a really bad team. However, they're 4-6, so it's just when they lose, it looks really bad. Like there's something when they lose, they implode a little bit. And I think it's probably just a lack of depth that then once you're behind, it gets really badly exposed. But it's hard to look at them at 4-6 and not notice that they are 7th in the standings above Tri-City, which is interesting to say the least, to see Tri-City down there. That, 4.5 games, nearly a week out already, just 12 games into the
worse than New England.
2 weeks in, they're almost a week out. And behind New England. Yeah, that is attention grabbing, I'll say, without really having much more to add to that other than attention grabbing. Now they did go on a 3-win stretch there, but 2 of them were against Trois-Rivières. One was against the Jackals team that I'm not overly impressed by, and then that Jackals team turned around and beat them 15-7, 14-0. I'm sorry, that was New England.
They got dropped there.
Clarify which team I was talking about there, because I was talking about both at one time. So for New England's sake, yes, they've won 4 games. 1 was against Ottawa, who we're still trying to figure out who they are. 2 against Trois-Rivières and 1 against the Jackals, which we are still trying to figure out who they are, coming off a travel day as well. But then they got smacked them out twice. So maybe we'll learn a little more again against the Boulders this weekend. That Tri-City situation, though, I don't know. I mean, they started out 2-1, and since then they are 2-7. Lost 2 out of 3 to Ottawa. Lost 3 in a row to Washington. Lost 2 out of 3 to Schaumburg. I mean, they're not playing no one. Like that's the thing. Like Schaumburg's a good ball club. Washington's a good ball club. Ottawa they're showing they're bringing more to the table than they have. They're in the middle of the standings, and I think they belong there. I don't know. Is that a compliment? It felt like it was a compliment.
I see what you're going for. Yeah.
Yeah. They're a competitive ball club. So it's not like if they were getting hammered by New England, I'd be like, hey guys, you okay? But for now, it's just, hey, that's interesting to see. And Florence falling back to earth sucks. I was really excited.
It was also expected, no?
Yeah, it was. But still, when they're 4-3 at top of the standings, you can go, well, maybe. But, 5 straight losses, I think. It's not how you do it.
Yeah, Quebec a no-hitter this week. That's nice.
Yeah, dude, which I barely caught because all the news about it was in French. Pissed. That's something.
I got it for the
seriously.
I got it for the moment of the week there. Last 4 innings were 4 perfect innings from them.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know my feelings on a combined no, but still cool. Second no-hitter of the indie ball season.
Exactly. Still very nice there. They're starting to come around a bit more too, really, when you start to look at it here. Although they're struggling. They were struggling a little bit to start the year, but
yeah. But remember, they struggled last year. We had the whole conversation: is there something wrong with Quebec? And then they just went on a tear, and we're like, okay. Anyway.
Yeah. See, that's the thing with the whole East. Like outside of New York, they're all very mid so far. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, you can't rule any of them out because everybody else is mid in this division.
Yeah. I think early on, it looks like the Boulders and Quebec are sort of this obvious standouts here, and then it's going to be a competition for the 3rd spot.
And we knew it was going to be the case.
Is it time to worry yet if you're Evansville, by the way? 4-9, but you woke up today 4.5 games out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, I want to put a pin in that just for 1 second here before talking about it, because I just want to talk about the Boulders for 1 second.
Sure.
Which is, I don't know what to make of them. Are they really what their record says they are? Because, I mean, you beat up on New Jersey and Three Rivers. That's who they played. That's literally it. And now they're going to play New England, and then they go play Sussex. And then they finally get Quebec, which I would call a challenge, and then back to Sussex. Like, they don't really start getting a diverse schedule, if that makes sense, until beginning of June.
I agree, but they're beating the teams they need to beat. They're beating them on the road. I'll be interested in the Sussex series because I think Sussex is a good, like, kind of league average team right now to put up New York against and see how they fare. And then that should give us a bit of a hint about how that Quebec series is going to go. But yeah, boy, the East really got soft though. I guess it kind of was last year too, though.
Yeah.
The top end was so good that you kind of forget it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. There's really two teams that were trash, and then the rest were good, but it's hard to really compare it. But yeah, Myers are a team that's interesting. I will get back to Evansville in a second. Myers are just an interesting team, though, where it's like there's four guys that are carrying the load. Like it's Tony Gomez, Corey Acton, and then you got like occasional contributions from the rest of the team.
Right.
Oh, Anu too. Anu's doing decent.
Yeah, he is. He's actually really starting to hit a good week.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I don't know what to make of this team when you have guys like Mead, who's one of your supposed, I think really hyped up guys. I see a lot of him on their social feeds, but yet he's sitting around a 267 on base, right? Batting under 200. And you got a guy like Giordano who just got over 200. And Sayer, who's also an everyday player that's batting under 140. Like, I know, again, like batting average isn't be all and end all, but when you have a lot of guys that are batting under 220 as everyday players, not what you're looking for.
You got to keep that lineup moving. Like, and even if you have some pieces, it's not going to go very far if you're getting rally killed basically every time you get out of the top four.
Yeah.
And also, and this is something that I don't think I've mentioned before, but like is an understated thing, especially in like the structure of league we're dealing with now. It's in every league, but like where, arms maybe aren't as stretched out, or maybe just you don't have guys throwing as deep in games as you do. Well, I was going to say an MLB, but they're not really doing it either. But I guess the dynamic of if you wear out guys, you can't just like bring someone up from the farm club. Like it's going to be a process. God forbid you're on the road. God forbid it's early in the week and now you have to gut through 5 more games with a limited bullpen. There is an underestimated and maybe understated importance of like just not getting up there and going 8 pitches and out and putting your guy back on the bump. Like being able to work at least a 15 pitch inning, get a couple guys on base, make it take a few, let a guy get a rest. Not so much it gets cold, but like just to like, so that he's not just like working out of an inning, maybe getting out of a jam, sitting down, sipping on water, and then being like, oh, we're back, and having to go right back out there. If you're trying to stretch your pitching staff, which is already fairly limited in some of these cases, over the course of like a week, every single week, those little things are the ones that cost you. The number of times you turn the lineup right back over because your 7-8-9's trash, like that's an issue.
Yeah. I do like some of the pieces they have though on the pitching side though. Like
I agree.
The bullpen's really nice. Jimmy Boyce has looked decent too, as kind of like a quasi starter. So I see exactly what you're saying. I do think it's going to become a problem, but I don't really know what to make of the whole situation.
It's very interesting. There's a lot of highs and a lot of lows over there and not much in between, which is weird.
That's the thing. And I figure it got to level off sooner than later.
Right? And everyone's like, where is this thing going to land? What bit of chaos is this going to land on?
What are them Duke boys up to again?
Jesus.
But to talk about Evansville now before moving on to, I guess then it would be the preview unless we have anything else to talk about in this league. But I do worry a bit if I'm Evansville. It's a 96 game season, so what are we about? An eighth of the way through at this point. And you just lost your best player in Patrick Lee to Detroit. Got signed, good for him. Which I'm just looking at a stat line now. Really damn impressive 10 game stretch, 11 game stretch. Really nice. But outside of like, I guess David Mendham, I don't really know who's the answer here. I mean, you guys you got a guy like Brian Rosario who's batting under 100.
Patrick Lee's gone.
Yeah.
So it's David Mendham at 935 OPS. And then next guy up is Donovan Williams. Yeah. Hitting 250.
Yeah. I mean,
Mason House,
Reyes,
but he's been hitting he's only got 2 hits and 11 at bats, but one's a homer. So maybe, but he's more of a bench piece. Randy Bednar, maybe. Jake Green? Yeah.
Jake Green was another guy I was looking at here, but the problem is you already have a guy like Justin Felix in that spot too.
Right.
It's kind of been splitting time. So, I mean, like you can make it work, I guess. Like I was just saying, Reyes too could maybe be doing something, but 11 strikeouts through 12 games is a little much.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. I just don't see where they're filling these gaps at now. I will say the pitching staff looks nice.
Oh yeah, I've been impressed.
That looks very nice. Zach Smith particularly. And even with a guy like Brahmins and Scott not getting up to it yet, you assume they're going to figure it out. And once they do, then it can really start to look nice. Crick's looking good. Castillo looks good. There's a lot of guys here that I think look good. I'm interested to see if they keep it up. But it doesn't really help you if you're not scoring runs, right? Like if your on base as a team is under 325, then you have a problem.
Yes, I would say that's a fair thing to say. There's really not much else other than that's going to be interesting and maybe just a cold start from the lineup. I think that's more, I'd rather be in a spot that Evansville's in where the hitting isn't there, but the pitching is, rather than a spot like another team might be in where the hitting is there, but the pitching isn't, because, hitting is more likely to just be cold and it'll break out, or guys will kind of get settled in a league than it is for pitching to suddenly figure it out. And not to mention, you can find bats out there on the market. You cannot find pitching.
That is very true. I do wonder what they're going to do to try and find those bats, right, though? Because if you can find them, you think, okay, we got to start looking for them now.
Right, exactly, which I got to assume they are. I mean, there's only so many times that you can watch your lineup get dog walked and not be like, well, okay.
Yeah, I just don't know where they're going to find it, though, right? Like, it feels like at this stage,
they have the tradable asset, though. They got pitching. So if you can afford to let go of something on the pitching side, you can probably finesse a bat.
That is true.
Better be right, though. Better be right that you can let go of that pitching piece, because you don't want that. Because if you let it go and
blows up in your face real quick,
and you get another hit a game, a lot of good that does you. When now you're giving up 7 runs a game.
Unless you get one of those more like gave up like a Braden Scott that's not doing well right now, but looks like he can do better.
Right. It's almost like it's hard to do putting together a baseball team.
Yeah, who would have thought that?
Who would have?
But we can look at how the Pioneer League puts their teams together. Last of the previews, we'll do the simple almanac stuff, the recap of last year and some of the basic stuff going into this year, and then we'll talk about each of these teams. There's 12 teams this year, so that's kind of cool. Worse for doing a preview, though. So that's noted. There's 96 games in this season, so just like the Frontier League, they play 96. Unlike the Frontier League, it is a split season playoff structure. First half runs from May 21st through July 14th, and then the second half is July 15th through September 8th. No divisions this year, just straight up all 12 free-for-all there, mainly because of the California teams that have been added in. Makes it tougher for division scheduling. However, the top 2 teams from each half will make the playoffs. So if you are the top 2 teams on July 14th and September 8th, you will make it. I would imagine wild card probably will turn into best overall record. I don't know for certain, though. That being said, playoffs are going to be one round of a best of 3 and then a second round of a best of 5. That's all there is to it. Major news was obviously Oakland and Yolo joined the league to expand the footprint to California. There is some news involving particularly Yolo this week. We'll cover when we get to them. However, we're going to try and keep it as mostly as we can about on the field. Quick look back at last year. Missoula and Ogden were first half champions. Billings and Rocky Mountain won the second half. Ogden then defeated Billings for the title last year. That just about does it for the summary. We can head right into the actual preview.
Yeah. Trying to think where to even begin with this one.
I'm liking Billings to start.
All right, that works. That's one that I've actually been able to do both sides of. You'll catch along the ride here that I have done deep dives on 12 offenses, which is great because there's 12 teams in the league, and 9 pitching staffs, which is not great because there's 12 teams in the league. So If I get real quiet, you know why.
I'm not going
I'm
to
great.
even pretend to front here. This is my most vibes-based preview.
Especially Rocky Mountain. Am I right? God, I hate myself.
Join the list. Any case, of most of my previewing here was I looked for the names that were familiar, and the more familiar names that I saw, the better I assumed you were going to be. I know some in-depth, hard-hitting analysis that you've come to expect from this show, but that is the case. Nonetheless, with Billings, new manager in Craig Maddox, first-year guy, friend of the show, been around for a minute in indie ball. There's some interesting guys here. Taylor Lomack being one of them, Breely Knight being another one, Fenley. Luke Truman being a swing guy. I always like that. And Ty Pullman is interesting to me. I don't know what much to make of them. Obviously, a really nice season last year. What do you think?
I think the offense has question marks. I think the pitching staff looks good. I was less comfortable picking out guys from like, oh yeah, these are people who, well, it's a complication of like a lot of guys can put up good numbers in the Pioneer League without being standouts in the lineup because of everybody seemingly putting up good numbers in the Pioneer League. So yeah, I would not be, I mean, I'm looking at the familiar guys again, like Pat Maybach. Like I look at him too. He stepped up another 50 innings last year and made 16 starts. So looking for him to be a big piece here. And that's going to kind of, there's a few of those guys who seem like they could cover some innings, which is a huge win in this league. And that's kind of why the pitching staff sort of seems to grade out so well. I'm trying to find some of the other names that jumped out at me. Luke Reddick and Daniel Willey were two other guys that kind of jumped out at me as possible, sort of leaders for the staff. And last, I think it was Trevor Jackson as well. But yeah, offensively, I don't know, man. There's just nothing that really blew me away, I guess. I mean, I'm looking at, wow, I'm winning so much. Alejandro Figueiredo, yeah.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mills, yeah. I mean, we're kind of finding the same guys. It just doesn't seem like a lineup that's got a huge amount of punch to it compared to some of the other teams. And I think it lands at, like, I've got them projected as like the 11th best offense in the league, which is disappointing from, they made a good run last year and they looked good. It just seems like, not a step up, which is tough. Again, they were bottom half of the league in batting last year, but still you'd expect a little bit better, I guess. Pitching is probably about what it was last year, if I were to estimate, but yeah, I don't know. Billings, after that year last year, I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more of a leap forward, but I don't know.
Yeah, see, here's the thing, though. I kind of think staying the same almost helps you in the league where there's so much going on.
That's fair.
Everything changes real quick. So, yeah.
I should clarify as I crack a drink in the background of this situation. I would say I don't mean staying the same as in like same guy showing up back to back, which there's a little bit of that, but I guess more what I meant was while there's turnover, while there's all this, I feel like, they're still kind of projected to be middle of the pack pitching wise. They're still projected to be bottom. No, they're now projected to be bottom 2 hitting wise in my book, which is a step backwards on the batting. So I don't know. I would have thought, they were kind of middle of the pack on both sides last year, that after the year they had, they would have been like, all right, let's go for this and make a jump. And so I'm saying, like, even with the turnover, they're still sort of sitting in the same range projection wise. So sorry, I was completely unclear with that the first time, probably a second time too.
I see what you're saying. I still think, though, that's a good enough team here to be more in contention, just given the way the playoff system works this year.
How so?
In the sense of it doesn't matter what your division does because there's no divisions anymore. So
true. Yes.
So it makes it, in a sense, a lot easier because it clears the field for you, right? Because think back to last year.
It's worth noting they would have been third place out of 10 of the 10 teams last year.
That's a playoff team.
Yeah, you're right.
So if they're in if they're in the same bracket there, I mean, that works out fine. I mean, I don't know how the whole seeding is going to work for playoffs. I wish I knew that, but I don't. So I'll be curious to see how it winds up going.
I have a slight theory that they're waiting to see if the California teams are getting in before they announce an official playoff format.
Okay, so I wasn't the only one that couldn't find it.
Yeah, I mean, that's just my concept. They gave a general description of it, but they didn't make any promises about how that was going to divide up. Because I could see it being a thing where they're like, like top team plays the bottom team, whatever, and then the middle two teams play. But I could see a world where it's like, actually, we're going to base it off of location or like rivalry or some other thing. And because the two Cali teams make it in, they're like, we are not having you both travel out here or vice versa. Like you're playing each other in the first round.
That would be interesting. I do think the choose your opponent strategy would also be an interesting way to roll for this year.
That naturally kind of fixes some of the travel too.
Mm.
Yeah, just a thought because that's another conversation entirely. But I'm sorry, I'm going to rehash one thing. Is it 2.5? Do we think?
Yes, it is 2.5.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought I wrote that down. Then I left it. I have 23 notes on 24 notes, and I left it in the middle of the page, and that's between the 2 years. So not overly useful work from Ryan.
I think it was useful work.
I'm so tired. I mean, it meant that both years have 2.5 system, in which case I'm genius. But boy, would the surrounding evidence not back that hypothesis.
When you say boy, I think of Boise, which is the next team up in this preview.
Boy!
Z.
If you come here with BOI, I gotta hear a boy. Because it's the same way you would say boing. Anyway, this podcast going off the rails.
Any case, Gary Vantol leads the Boise Hawks this year, 4th year under helm. A couple of guys I looked at, TJ Poitier and Ben Lavorsi. Matt Sock's a guy that I, for whatever reason, will continue to believe in. And Casey Dykstra is interesting.
Yes. Let's go with... Did not sort it. I just realized why I'm so lost on my own spreadsheet because I didn't sort that thing by team. On the hitting side, I was looking at some guys like Patrick Marino, Ben Lavorsi, as you said. Maybe Tyler Hughes, but he's not looking like he's going to start. But he's someone I'm interested in. As let's see what ends up happening with him. Tyler Jorgensen, vibes. And Micah Yonomine kind of had some cool moments. I feel like Yonomine had moments last year, but mostly games I watched because I'd be like, damn. At one point last year, I was like, he must have 1 million home runs, and I am not paying close enough attention. And then I looked, and it was like, no, he has about as many home runs as you have seen on the feed. Was that Yonomine? And now I gotta. No, it wasn't Yonomine. Who was it? You can add that whole thing out. I have no idea who that was last year. Anyway, doesn't matter. So have fun on that edit, or leave it in. Maybe sound like an idiot. That works too. I was impressed with sort of what they put together here on the pitching side, by the way. Offense, I had them sitting around league average. On the pitching side, I have them out of the 9 I've done, top 3. So we'll call them top 3 or 4 probably. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of something to this. So I'm pulling up the staff now, but do you have anything that jumps out from anything I kind of touched on before I dive into something weird?
I'm going to leave you out for dead here because I don't really have much else here.
Hell yeah, that's fine. Leave me out for dead, my guy.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, Boise. Okay, so Casey Dykstra's interesting. Didn't always pitch, kind of pitches. I don't know if he can cover innings, but I think there's a chance because I like the trajectory he's kind of been on that depending on what he looks like coming into the year, there's a shot. He could have gotten absolutely crushed in an outing already this season, and I just missed it because it's slow to update on the stat page. But I really hope that doesn't age like milk. I'll roll over to the Dykstra page. Why not? The Dykstra the younger. I thought he hadn't pitched the last time I saw it. Yeah, he hadn't pitched yet. So that's an interesting one to watch. In my book, I was also looking at Kowalski analysis. Evan Kowalski. I like him. Strikes guys out. Does not walk the whole damn yard, which I appreciate. Goes a mile in the Pioneer League. 1, because obviously don't put extra guys on base when everybody's hitting bombs. And then 2, don't put extra guys on base, period. Because why? What are we doing here? Along those lines, too, another guy that stood out was Mike Peterson, who was the other guy I've kind of flagged. But I need him to start missing some bats because my dude doesn't. Not nearly enough, at least. So yeah, I gave up 14 point. I was projecting 14.1 hits per 9 possibly this year, which is not going to play. But if you can bring that down, maybe if Homie added something, a little bit of late break, maybe it'd be nice based on what I've been watching. Anyway, that's what I got standing out. That's why I like them. I think there's some good depth there. Blake McFadden also in the bullpen. I like him. So yeah, that's the vibe.
Okay. Grand Junction.
Grand Junction.
Second year. Kelly Dugan's obviously the big name here.
Dude.
Andres Rios, another name there. And Vinny Bologna has
strong
contender for the name of the year.
The way to bury the lead. Good Lord. Indie ball name of the season. They were doing minor league baseball name of the year for a while, and I was with the Blue Rocks and Brooks Pounders was there, and he won. It was sick. Brooks Pounders is a dope name, dude. But I mean, Blaze Brothers is out here too. We're balling out in indie ball for name of the year vibes. I mean, you got General MacArthur, got Johnny Turbo. That's a bracket. That's what we're doing. We're doing a name bracket. Name bracket. It's decided. We're doing a name bracket. Next week we'll do it. It's going down the list.
So it is written.
Literally, and also because I have a God complex. I'll work that out in that therapy session too. Where are we? Okay, Grand Junction. There we go. They have their own tab in this sheet because I think Grand Junction's fascinating. I don't have Vinny Bologna doing much, but he's also a backup, so that's okay. Mike Bathauer, possible, playing third, like that for him. Kelly Dugan is going to be fascinating to watch on so many levels against Pioneer League pitching. First of all, weird that Dugan's not in Lancaster anymore. I know he had a bad year last year, but he came off an injury where you might remember he was chasing Courtney Hawkins that home run race, which was crazy. And then he hurt his foot, and then he came back and he struggled last year, and just let him walk. Kind of weird, or hobbles, the case may be. Kind of weird. So I just think it's kind of strange, though. For all we know, maybe he was looking for a hitting coach role. I don't know what the deal was there, but it just felt weird and goes into the theory of what is going on in Lancaster right now. Kind of bringing this thing home a little bit better. I've got, who was it? Drew Sackett, I think was the one I found to be fascinating. I highlighted him. Yep. Middle, actually plays a little bit all over the infield, which is fun. Done a little bit of second, a little bit of third already this year. And he projected as a 377 hitter. That'll play too. That's fun. We like having fun. And Drew Sackett seems like a fun option. But yeah, I mean, there's a legitimate chance that Kelly Dugan just does numbers in this league, and I'm so interested. I've always wondered what happened. And for those who weren't following, they changed the rule about because Pioneer League is the youngest of the roster restricted leagues. They changed the rule about, what do they call it? Franchise players. So basically, you can have one guy who just kind of doesn't fit into the parameters at all. So that's where you're getting some guys like Kelly Dugan. I think this was something to kind of pacify new owners from the Oakland side so they get some marketable stuff. But I mean, it is. I've always wanted to see what happened if you just took an ALPB star and threw him in the Pioneer League. I've played around with what Courtney Hawkins' projections were in the Pioneer League, and it was 60 home runs, I think, or it was 50 in 96 games. So Kelly Dugan is definitely the key thing to watch here. I mean, there's a chance he hits 430, depending on what type of Kelly Dugan shows up. His low end projection was 355 average, which I know you care about, Nick.
I do very much care.
Low end projection OPS wise was 915. LOL.
It's genuinely though, is Kelly Dugan enough to power this team to a postseason?
No. Well, that's harsh. Hold on. Maybe. The offense is probably best in the league in my book, but that's not the problem. Is the pitching. But I think the pitching has definitely stepped up. They were worse last year. I probably have them around 7 or 8 this year.
I'm just saying you can win a football game in the Pioneer League.
They do it all the time.
Yeah, so I don't really care about pitching in this league.
Facts. However, it's nice if you can get an outing once in a while.
Yeah, I guess. But think about the extra baseball you get if you're a fan.
It's nice if you can score 2 touchdowns instead of 3 and still get a win.
Hey, who needs 2? I mean, you can have 3. But
I mean, you can't lead the league in offense and come out with the record they did last year. That's absolutely bananas. They scored almost 8.7 runs per game last season and came out 6 games under 500. What are we doing, boys? I'm going to need you to connect 3 outs here and again, right?
No.
I don't know.
Uh,
I think they've improved, and I haven't talked pitching side, so I'll do that while you're doing something on your end right now. I got all right. This was Jake Dexter. He's one I was looking at. He's a guy who doesn't have experience. Not a lot of Pioneer League experience on this pitching staff, but it's not like the Pioneer League experience is really working for them anyway. So whatever. They'll need Jonathan Tyler to step up a bit. I don't know. I'd like to think he can. That will help. That will definitely push them from like a bottom of the league type of pitching staff to like an actually competitive one. Elijah Johnson's the other one, another D2 into PBL type of guy. So they need a lot of guys to be able to deliver. I don't really put much into Pioneer League experience for the pitching side unless you're like proven to be a top end guy. I just think, you need guys who can keep the ball in the damn yard, which is huge. And that's kind of what I found with some of these guys. They seem better at keeping the ball in the yard than past seasons.
to keep things moving, Glacier up next. Paul Fletcher, the manager. I couldn't find a complete roster. I was just going off the ones that I was trying to get from the Pioneer League website.
Yeah, I had some trouble on that one, but I got a bit of a something at least, so I can kind of work with it.
They're 0 for 2 so far in the season, so make of that what you will. But
yeah, and let me check this because I feel like they've done it the opposite way.
We got an actual roster now.
There we go. They're up 15-4 right now over Oakland.
Woo! That's good for them.
Okay. Man, that beat my point I was going to make because my point was going to be Oakland's 2-0 right now, but I think they only got about pitching for about 2 games at a time. And damn, that would have aged so nice. Oh, that sucks. Oh, well.
Yes, Glacier.
Faster with this. So Glacier.
Montana Quigley, great name and good pitcher. Mm-hmm. The John Daly on this roster, is that the same one that was with I think it was High Point for a minute?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so I like him.
Interesting, by the way. So the number one thing I took from the projections on them is the projections the 10th best offense, but so far the 2nd or 3rd best pitching in the league. And that tracks so far. Lost opening night 7-6, which is not bad Pioneer League wise, and then lost 3-2 last night, and then held Oakland so far to 4 runs. It's bottom of the 8th right now, and they're up 15-4. So, I mean, the pitching looks like they have something.
Again, I just don't value good pitching in this league just because I don't think it helps you as much. Like, obviously, it's a nice thing to have. I'm never going to say it's going to hinder you, but I value the batting more just because of how many of these games turn into, just absolute racing.
Yeah, but good pitching can keep it from becoming a boat race. That's the thing. And
I think that pitching gives out before batting does.
Maybe. But here's the weird one. And here's where I think pitching is key. And this is where I start to, I look at weird stuff with Pioneer League pitching rather than others. I look at a more complete staff usually of other leagues. I think you're right. When it's a boat race like that, where it just runs every half inning, I value weird ones like the guy who can come in the 8th and randomly get 3 outs without giving up a run. I think teams who have 1 or 2 of those guys who can just reliably get you the one shutdown inning and give you a bit of a, then you can maybe put on a couple more runs and that's the lead you need to finish it. That's the weird one where you start to be able to survive those better. Now, if their offense can't hang, that's going to be interesting. Getting outscored 3-2 yesterday is a really concerning sign. But I think, off the top of my head, I like Justin Coleman. A lot of guys have Pioneer League experience. I just said I don't really know how to value Pioneer League experience, but if they're guys who can go out and honestly give up a tater and not be phased and just keep delivering, that's kind of a win there. Nick Zegna, Montana Quigley, Connor Housley, Jonathan Pintaro, Caleb Sophie, as Ness Alliance, this thing is up to date. Cameron Cohen, Justin Coleman, and Andrew Washington are all names that stood out as guys with some Pioneer experience. I don't know, a lot of D1 and top end D1 guys who played at legit D1 schools. Caratini, Hunsinger, White, Kafka, and Pinkerton all played for impressive programs. So I don't know, man. I think this pitching staff could be legit, and now what they'll do with it, I am open to your conversation though. On I don't know what that will do for them because the batting is not as impressive.
I just am very concerned. Hey, you see this headline? Unrelated here. Just popped up when I was looking for something else. Top discipline for body cam being off in Scotty Scheffler case.
Amazing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I think you laugh on someone later with that.
Yeah, man.
But yes, back to the point here. Yeah, I'm very weary of teams where I don't see a lot out of the offense. It scares me.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying there's reason for optimism, but
I see how it can go right. Don't get me wrong. It's just I think in the grand scheme, I am very very concerned.
Yeah, very, very concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at not a lot impressing me on the offensive side, unfortunately. I mean, Chad Castillo's kind of it, Andy Atwood as well, but it could be some growing pains. John Daly, sure. John Daly didn't really hit the ball though in the Atlantic League.
Yeah, but I mean, also there's a big difference there, right?
No, I understand. You're right about
that. Great Falls, a team that has struggled significantly in the past. Ripe under first year there. I don't really know who to look at with this team. I didn't see too many names that really I knew, to be honest with you, so I don't really know what to make of it.
Yeah. Two stood out to me offensively, Marcos Castillo and Ryan Major, honestly, who's like an NAIA guy, but I don't know. I like the vibe off him. He put up numbers, and I'm like, NAIA guys, I mean, put up numbers as reliably as top-end D1 guys or affiliated guys, it feels like, coming in to the Pioneer. Saying Washington had that silly night last night where he put up 7,000 RBI.
Oh, so
that's going to be interesting to watch if he's on one now. Backstrom, Livingston, Morris, those are guys, but that was kind of the bulk of what I was looking at there on the offensive side. Great Falls comes out as like the 9th best offense, and honestly, a bottom 3rd pitching staff so far too. So that's a little concerning. I'm going to try to put delicately. But let's see. There were a couple guys I did take note of at least. So let's see how well I actually remembered to note that. Yeah, we got, I guess it was probably Jeff Pramel and probably Steven Wasilewski. I like Steven Wasilewski. I forget what school he pitched at though. But Ball State and UK and Kentucky, and then he appeared with Windy City and Joliet like super briefly last year, but they must have seen something. I don't know. He's got some strikeout stuff. He has potential to not walk everybody, but he also might walk everybody. But he was something to watch where he might be all right. But yeah, I was really not overwhelmed by their pitching staff. It's mostly a hitting team, and I'm still a little not sold on that too.
Yeah, I don't really. Like I said, this is definitely the preview I feel the least confident in, just because I don't really know any of the names, and trying to do any sort of real background work into it, I never really know what to make of any numbers, so it just feels like I'm flying blind on all of them. So I don't really think I can comment too much on some of the teams like Great Falls, even the next one, Idaho Falls, where I look, you got a first-year manager here. I don't know how to comment on anything there.
I got you. I'll tell you that they project as the worst offense in the league.
Fair.
Which is tough. And they have like a lot of guys on the roster, like on the offensive side, kind of a weird amount for how sketchy the offense is, but maybe it's because they're still finding answers for some things. I mean, Chase Hansen could be their best offensive option. I mean, I like him a lot coming up. Again, an AI guy, but he is injured to start the year. Jacob Shanks also in the potential category for a guy, but he's also injured. So that's not exactly optimistic. Who is Miles? I'm trying to think what I got for Miles Austin. He could, yeah, I mean, but he doesn't really hit for average. There's just a lack of solutions there offensively. I mean, they do project this as the bottom offense in the league, and frankly, as of now, the bottom pitching staff as well, according to projections. So, as I said, there's 3 teams I haven't projected yet, but that's not a great sign. I'll
Yeah,
pull up
I mean,
what
I
names.
literally wrote down nobody under players to really highlight and watch for here.
It's
As
tough.
cruel as it is, yeah.
I confidently projected one guy that was at an ERA under 5. And he's the only guy I'd be confident has an ERA under 6 projections wise, and it's Sergio Ramirez. So that is, concerning. I don't know. I mean, look, Growing Pains first year manager in Idaho Falls, which is not really a track record of success. Hey, Sergio Ramirez also has given up. He has an 18 ERA to start the year so far. So that's good stuff from the projections. Feeling good about it. We'll be fine.
Dusty Baird is also our Braid.
Dusty Baird,
yeah. 6'8" dude.
dog, big one.
I just like pointing out guys that are over 6'5".
Fascinating.
I don't know. I just think bigger guys are more.
I mean, he's that 6'8" dude though. He's like every 6'8" dude who's like underdeveloped, which is he misses the zone. There's just too much mechanically it has to fall in line with him. I know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's the motion looks like a 6'8" dude. And it sounds so mean, but I will say, hey man, that was Randy Johnson too. Like Randy Johnson, he couldn't hit the zone for years and then he figured it out. So I'm not saying he ain't going to figure it out this year, but
Ryan is saying you're going to be a hell of a photographer one day.
Honestly, dude, love it. He was my favorite pitcher growing up, man. Modeled my own pitching off of him. Probably why my shoulder's a little wonky.
And because, you're also like 6'20", so,
Also true. I'm the tallest man alive.
Yeah.
I mean, so far, he had Dusty Baird had a 10.2 ERA last year, 8.3 ERA the year before that in the Pioneer, both of which walking about 6 guys per 9. Like that's 5 per 9 the 1 year, but going the wrong way. That's it, man. It's just tough when you're that big to get that many body parts going the right direction. Consistent.
If we want to talk about a team that stacks up a little bit better, Missoula is up next.
Yeah, man. Missoula, who, if you're curious, I got them projected 3rd offensively and so far 1st pitching-wise. So that's a change of tone and also completely unsurprising.
Always a good team. Michael Schlatt knows how to build a team.
It's just a horror show year after year. Just absolute horror show.
Yeah, I just don't know if I could trust the roster on the website that I was going off of.
It's a lot of batters. I think I saw the same roster. I had 19 batters still listed on that thing. I know it's not accurate, but I can kind of guess which ones aren't on the roster currently.
Yeah, I saw a lot of guys that were signed to major league deals last year. So I don't know if they're back or what the deal's with them.
Yeah. Hold on.
So like Patrick Lee is still listed and he just got picked up by Detroit and was with Evansville prior. So
check your Instagram.
Okay.
They do have 15 batters, so they're not that far. It's a lot. Not a lot of pitchers, honestly.
Yeah.
5.
But then 11. Again,
that's just opening day.
Good. I like Gil a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Connor Schultz is another good player. Chung's a guy I like. Willman's a solid player too. There's a lot on here to work with.
Yeah, Navarro, Elver, and Tyler Johnson were the 3 that kind of stuck out to me immediately. But they're kind of just pretty solid. It's not a beat you to death type of offense, but it is just a lot of guys that are going to get on base. And I feel like I saw it so many times this year where it's like you'll get 1 out, it's been a quiet game. And then you'll let a guy on, you'll get your second out, and you're like, all right. And then one guy gets on, one guy works a walk, single, a double, and I'm seeing up 4 runs. And Missoula's still got them loaded. And you're like, wait, what happened here? I was out of this inning. It's just like Missoula there's so few holes in the lineup.
Yeah, they keep coming.
Yeah, it's a damn nightmare to deal with, I think, if you're a Pioneer League pitcher.
Scared a little old me.
Nice. Love that from you.
Yes.
Now on the pitching side, there's a bunch of dudes I liked. So let me see if I can actually get my act together so I can actually find it. I'm going to go with I'm just trying to highlight all of them because like usually it's just like one or two, but no, Missoula went and actually overachieved here. So got to actually be organized in my approach. Let's go with, yeah, that's right. They got Elijah Gill. Oh my God, I forget who they have on this team at this point. All right. Elijah Gill, gross. Connor Schultz, gross. Alfredo Vila, gross. Dawson Day, gross. Ethan Swanson, like all former guys, like all returners. They bring back so few. They bring back so many players from a team that was already nasty. They're just really well built, man, for like a several year runs. Nick
That's
Parker
the kind
and
of construction they have top down.
What's up?
That's just how they construct their team every year.
Oh yeah, I know.
That just shows the quality in the front office.
Yeah, I mean, if we were this guy to pitch, because I'm also then because it's them, I'm looking like, okay, so what do they have planned for next year already? This dude Armin Sabori is like kind of the new guy they brought in. He had a couple years. Yeah, he didn't pitch 2020, didn't pitch 2022, so that's kind of funky. Only pitched 2 innings last year for them, but he was nasty in college. Sub 3 ERA or round 3 ERA, back-to-back seasons with Cal. Probably sophomore and junior years, it looks like. So that's nice to know. 11 Ks per 9 that last season in the Pac-12. He struck out 14 in high A, 14 per 9 in high A, but had some issues just keeping guys from scoring. So that'll be interesting to watch. High potential guy for sure. We'll see if he can hit the zone. But yeah, man, there's not even much to say. It's a similar team to what you've seen before. It's going to score runs. It's going to keep you off the board more often than just about any pitching staff you're going to see in this league.
Yeah. Northern Colorado. Frank Gonzalez back for year 2. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, top 5, probably offense, and probably call it top half pitching, which is fine. That's
I like them, to be honest with you.
They've improved for sure. This whole organization feels much better organized than they used to. It's still a little weird, but it's okay. I like that.
Henry George, I like. Jackson Coates, I like.
Yeah, you're looking at the offensive side. I'm making a move over.
Names
I was like, I'm going to be different and start pitching, and then no.
There's no.
They have probably the best like top end, like heart of the lineup compared to just about any other, maybe out of any other team.
Oh yeah, Matthews is another guy.
Yeah, Brandon Trammell's the one I'm interested in. He's D1 guy. I like him. I think he could be like a future starting outfielder on this team. In fact, if Henry George was there, might be a spot to compete for. Garrett Kuber, he was a Langley guy. I kind of forget where I saw him, but I know I saw him. But look for him to be a producer on the team as well. Just another second team in a row with like a solid lineup. It's not going to dominate, but again, moving in the right direction. They're keeping the right pieces in place and they're adding intelligently. Not just like find me a guy, we'll grab one. I feel like a lot of the younger Flacco team, newer teams tend to be like almost running around with their hair on fire. Oh, we have a gap to fill. Oh, this is a weakness for us. Just grab somebody and throw it in there and see if it works. I feel like this has been a good intentional build from them. I've been pleasantly surprised. It was a sort of an inauspicious start for them last year. And they really kind of got everything together throughout that season. I think they're keeping it going. I'm happy to see it.
I do like a lot of the pieces, and I do think you mentioned, like you said, they're building intelligently.
Yeah.
Also, Dutch Landis is a hell of a name.
Oh, facts. And pitching, while not very impressive, like there's not a lot of guys who are honestly projected to do big numbers or who have
Tyndall's nice, but yeah.
They're bringing back. So they got 11 pitchers off that roster. I have 9 of them return with PBL experience or specifically NOCO experience. Like that's crazy. That's again, I've gone back and forth on whether it's good or not. I think it depends on the type of guy you have and the mentality. But if it's showing that you're looking for guys who aren't going to be demoralized by pitching a league where the run environment's so crazy, and guys who are just going to battle and coming back like that, I do think it's a good sign.
I would agree. I think honestly they're one of the more complete teams.
Yeah, which is surprising to say after. I mean, last year was kind of weird. Like,
yeah,
you don't know what's going to be coming through the door with them. I mean, they had the 4th best offense for a while, was up at the top, but their worst pitching for a while it was down the bottom. Boy, Idaho Falls pitching was worse than I thought. They really fell apart at the end of the year, huh? I forgot they were worse than worse than the league last year.
Yeah. Let's talk about Oakland, who now has a giant bee painted on a warehouse.
Yeah, they do. How about it? Cards on the table.
Yep.
We're officially into the teams that I do not have pitching thoughts on very much outside of like the obvious. So, and of course, it's teams where I came and pull like past rosters, so they have a lot of familiar faces. So that's on me. Hate it.
We know they have at least one really good, really quality pitcher, right?
Who Oakland does?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
You know where I'm going with this.
I know that. I know. I'm not touching it. Actually, I did do Oakland's pitching. That's a lie. I did do Oakland's pitching. I had.
Oh, I'm sure the numbers bear out my point.
About mid-pack hitting wise. I got him bottom third pitching wise. So it's all right for first year team.
Yeah.
I'll pull some actual specifics on this in a second. I mean, the obvious headliner, Dondre Hubbard.
Yeah. He's going to do a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah, for sure. I like Noah Martinez, by the way. He's their first baseman. He's got D1 experience. He looks like he could really do well.
Yeah, what about Miles Jefferson?
Miles Jefferson, yeah, he projects to put up some numbers. Let me see. Yeah, I got him. He projects like a 335 hitter, 900-ish OPS. The power is the question mark there, where he might be sort of coughing up some numbers to that. But
I think he's a shortstop, so I mean, like, I'm not overlooking.
Yeah, that's fine. And
like, I'd like it, but I don't need it.
Yeah, and they have like Dan Covino, who should be a power guy, so he's playing third base. So you are getting those numbers from your infield. Noah Martinez, I also like to hit some bombs, so they're not hurting for power on the team. Yeah, that's kind of what sticks out on the batting side. On the
pitching wise, do you have something for Carson Lambert?
Yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
Yeah, he can go. Let me go for like an obvious number. Like he had like a 7-ish ERA.
Yeah,
projection. Okay. But I mean, yeah, I think the concern with him, if I remember right from the projection, and I can actually pull him just so I can actually not just talk off the top of my head on something. If I remember right, he sort of ran to a spot where the peripherals on him weren't great, specifically the numbers that are like going to get exposed on the in the Pioneer League. Like, you know what I mean? Like free passes, homers. It's just, that's what I worry about. Let me pull that though. Okay, never mind. I guess I'll never find him again. Very fun. Weird.
Neat.
Neato.
I just think it's kind of neat.
I remember because I was looking up the wrong name because I was thinking of an old Tigers pitcher back in the day. Oh man. Yeah, I mean he gave up 2 runs in 2 innings so far this year. Looking at him, I know what you're seeing, but I don't know. That last season at USC was good, but that's kind of where the issues were. Like he was giving up a bunch of homers. Like that's what it was. It was in college. He gave up 22 homers in 137 innings. So it's like 1.5 per 9. And he had moments where it was a lot worse than that. I think that was the concern. So that just doesn't feel like it's going to play super well. But and I think Oakland's Park, like we're going to have to see that thing. I think it's going to be small.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious on him.
Yeah, sorry for the negativity on that one. But there was some stuff I liked out of Oakland pitching, right?
Like?
It was pretty mid-tier, actually. There's just like no one that would really pump up, like, oh, they don't do numbers.
I mean, we could hype up Aaron Eden because he has a great name.
True. I was going to read Butts as well.
Butts.
Brian Williams.
There he was in a chopper over Afghanistan.
Nice. I misremembered. Yeah, I mean, they look like two of the better pitching options. They have Pioneer League experience, so that's big. And I think that's kind of what we're looking at there. Yeah. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. We also overlooked Owen Schartz with Idaho Falls.
I think we'll survive.
Okay.
Ogden. What's up with Ogden?
Now we're officially into areas where I'm not well versed in the pitching. I like their offense, top half of the league, probably.
Yeah.
Specifically, guys that stand out. Great question. If we're looking at, I mean, Jordan Howard is the obvious one, but I don't know how much he's going to play. I don't know what their strategy is with him.
Yeah.
But he has a lengthy experience. Pierce Howard as well. That's only going to confuse me a bunch in these box scores. Parker De Pasquale, he was one who I think I watched crush in the Pecos. And I'm interested to see if that will convert. You know what I mean? That's a bit of there's always that sort of taking stock of how the Pecos guys do elsewhere. So that is, let me see what he did in the Pecos again. I'll remind myself. Yeah, it was a short stint in 2022, but he hit 430, 523, 859 slugging. Gross. Yeah, but then he hasn't converted over super well for the Pioneer last year's short stint in the Frontier didn't hit great. He had a short stint with Billings back in the day, like 3 games, didn't hit great, but tough to base off that. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Yeah. There's a lot of mixed results there. Played for Yuba City, by the way. Oh, interesting.
Raymond Gill's a guy I like, and then Clark Chaparelli.
I like Raymond Gill as well.
Yes, those are 2 guys I found interesting. Pitching wise, I have one other batting guy, Nick Utschel. I kind of like. Or Utsch. Yeah, Utsch at the end there. Ulch.
I'll get there. Yeah, you're there. Yeah, Pioneer the guy with experience. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, I like him there. Pitching wise, Matt Hess, just being at 6'7", it's going to draw my attention.
Of course, who's with you in tall guys? He has a type. Eric Waldichuk.
All boy season.
It's all boy season. Short kings across the world in tears because they can't process their emotions properly.
A short king.
Nick Waldichuk was one that stood out as being potentially interesting, but he's going to have to throw strikes. Just been mixed results in the past, but I found him fascinating. And then with this one, Yamamoto. Trying to remember what I saw on him. Yeah, brief appearance last year. Yeah, Mexico. I don't really know. They got a couple guys where I was like, I don't know where you found him, but I appreciate that you did. Yeah, not much else to add. I'm sorry, these are going to be a couple where I'm a little light on the pitching side, just as I'm sort of
good news is we only
on the catch up.
I mean, we only have 2 teams left to get through, and Rocky Mountain is up next. So,
Rocky Mountain.
There are some guys here that I'm kind of interested in. Cole Peterson's the main guy there, but I don't necessarily think we'll see the same success they had last year this year.
I mean, I'm a believer in the offense. I think the offense is top 3 in the league. Returners get Stephen Wilmer, but I'm not sure how they're going to use him this year. The guys I like, the incomers, Billy Hancock, who's going to be their catcher behind the plate, Brett Carson out in the outfield. He's a D3 dude, but I feel like, he put him numbers. I'm like, well, sure, maybe. And then Ernie Yake, he made it to AA. I think he could crush baseballs in this league. I just feel it. I'm going to check and see if I'm going to look bad here, but I don't think they've really played much because they're with Yolo. So I don't have stats to really pull classic. But.
Yes, and we'll talk about Yolo next because they will be the final team in the preview.
Yeah. On the pitching side, I'm not sure how much I have on that.
Daniel Noonan, 6'6".
Yeah, I forgot.
And Trey, I'm not going to lie to you. I wrote down Trey Morrell's name. I didn't realize he was 6'7", but he's 6'7".
Wow. Look at you. Just natural for it.
I know. See, us 6'2" and up people, we can go ahead and just tell.
God. Let me see. I'm seeing if there's anything I'm obviously overlooking here.
Legitimately, though, he does strike a lot of guys out.
Oh, yeah. Coming from that angle. Makes sense.
Yeah. 11K per 9.
Missoula struck out over 9 per 9 last year. That's crazy. It just sneaks past you. Yeah, I don't have a ton of. It's just tough to pitch in that environment. It's part of the issue. It's hard for me to be like, oh, yeah, that's going to go great. I don't know. I felt like Connor Kelly was an interesting one.
He's another guy I wrote down, yeah.
Yeah.
I also wrote down Andrew Vale.
Interesting. Carlos Amelli was one that I was taking a peek at. And I'm sorry, this isn't really analysis if you're listening to this. It's just at a certain point, it's like you hit a point on these Pioneer League rosters where there are a lot of lottery tickets, and it's just sort of picking ones that you think might hit and going from there. There's not a lot of reason you can see there's so little footage on some of these guys. It's really difficult to give like, oh, I like the way he throws, like, he's got this good arm angle and there's good action on a slider. Like there's very little of that. It's for the most part stat lines and trying to figure out what you're looking at once you binge watch a few games as the season starts, which if I sound tired, because we're in the heat of Pioneer League action still at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I mentioned Andrew Vale. He is from New Jersey, Washington Township, to be exact.
Oh, look at you. Do you know
I'm
him?
finding these New Jersey. That's why I was checking right now, to be quite honest with you, because there's an outside chance that I know people that know him.
Oh, my God.
There's a very outside chance because he is a 2000. He's a little bit younger than most of my friends that live out there. He's 3 years younger for the most part. There is an outside chance. So we're just going to leave that there. But anything else with Rocky Mountain before we get to Yolo?
Not really. I wish I got to the pitching on it. I was so close, but no luck.
Yeah, well, moving to Yolo. Obviously, I think we should address Billy Horton's the manager over there too. By the way, Les Lancaster was the manager for Rocky Mountain. I forgot to mention for Oakland, it was Mika Franklin, and in Ogden, it is Evan Parker. Franklin, Parker are both first years. Les is a second year. Billy is obviously been in the Pioneer League before, but it's his first year in Yolo, obviously. So there's that. Let's just get to the preview then.
Yolo. Let's talk. I've got Yolo sitting mid-pack, a little over mid-pack. Actually, got them like 6th offensively. Yeah.
Mike Sanson's interesting. Or Sansone.
Yes. Sansone. All right. Specifically, dudes I like. Sam Kaczynski, fascinating, DH. Might play a little bit in the field too. I assume so. Former D2 guy. Not a lot of guys with Pioneer League experience, like basically none in the offense, which is a little weird, but okay, I'll follow you there. Ian Matos, interested to see how they'll use him. I don't think he started on
That's also highlighting.
Maybe. I don't. It was interesting because I would have assumed he was starting and he didn't get a start. But who knows what that's about? Could be a hometown thing, like hometown guy has to start. I was a little surprised to see Kirkland Banks out there game 1, but maybe I don't know. Maybe. What do I know? Kirkland Banks is a great name. He sounds like the guy that the girl leaves in the Hallmark movie, who's just like his family is money and the fancy life. It's not for her. She met her man in this Christmas village. So sorry, Kirkland Banks, for that. Moving right along. There's a few. Honestly, it's a solid lineup. I like Angel Mendoza. Yeah. He was catching at least on opening day, as far as I could tell. It's a little funky on box scores, or it was at least last time I looked through. Bobby Latta, that's one I wasn't sure about. He could be really good. It's going to depend. I had a hard time figuring out what his glove looked like up the middle, and for a shortstop, that might be the deal breaker there. But yeah, I don't know. Solid offense, and I think they're going to hold solid. I think they're going to put up numbers enough to be mid-pack, probably around, I said 6th in the league, probably. So that's good. The pitching, again, is where I really lack some thoughts on this. I'm going to have to probably do a follow-up on it, maybe on my channel, but actually definitely will because I have it halfway done. But do you have any thoughts on the pitching side? Anything stand out?
Honestly, not particularly. I've said in the past I have a hard time really gauging anything Pioneer, so this doesn't really change here, to be quite honest.
Dawson Lane was the one that stuck out, lefty. He has strikeout stuff, but he also has walk stuff, which is not fun. So if he can start hitting the zone consistently, that'd be awesome. He's just 25, I think. 24, 25, depending on what my notes tried to say there. 20, he's 25. But yeah, he pitched a little bit in the Frontier League last year. I actually think he pitched most of the year with the Boulders last year. After a brief stint with, I think, one of the USPBL teams. But he's one to watch. If he can get that walk rate down, he could actually really put up some numbers as league. He could be a sub-4 ERA guy, which is rare with the Pioneer.
6'5" JC Ariza jumps out.
Of
Belleville.
course he does. You suck.
Yeah, from my county. Nice. Go get him, buddy.
Let me double check. I had a couple other guys I just like flagged as I was doing a quick run through on that one.
Austin Lane there. 6'5" dude from New York last year. Got another Frontier Leaguer in there. So there's some guys here.
Ty Buckner. That was the one.
And
Yeah, like a really
can I ask
weird
what the relation?
I don't think so. But the reason I latched onto him is he had this like really interesting trajectory, but only pitched like 20 innings at a time through college. But he pitched for like in the like Missouri Valley Conference, made a brief appearance with Gonzaga. It did not go well, but like literally it was like 4.8 ERA and then summer ball 3.7 ERA and then a 7.9 ERA, and then the next season a 1.1 ERA, and then the next season 8 ERA, and then a summer ball with State College last year 1.7 ERA. So I'm like, which one are you showing up? He struck out 15 per 9 with State College in the draft league last year. That's the other trend we got to keep an eye on, is how draft league guys start doing in the Pioneer. But we'll see. That's one where he could really high upside on that one. Like if he had a few good outings, he could disappear pretty quickly into the signings.
I'm still on this Buckner thing right now, so just ignore me.
Yeah, I could see that being the case.
Because he has two brothers. And
oh, damn it. Buckner, 1 2/3 already, 4 runs. No earned. Bang. Ty Buckner. Still got it. But he also walked 3 guys, which is the problem. Ty, eyes. I know, it's an audio medium. I need you to not walk guys, okay? Lock it in. Just kind of scrolling back through again. It's a good pitching staff. I feel like they could end up around halfway, probably in the like midway in the ranking pitching wise. But I don't want to speak too soon on that one. But generally, just from what I'm seeing, it has a good top end, has a bit of depth to it. Yeah, I don't know. I see them being a fairly good team. How many teams are gonna make the playoffs again? 4, 6, 15?
Yeah, 4 teams will.
Yeah, man. I think Yolo like will narrowly miss the playoffs, but like that's not hate, man. That's pretty good for year one. I think they outperform Oakland. That's my take. Because I think Oakland actually has a solid team. But I thought
about them as a possible playoff team. Speaking of which, let's wrap this up because I think we're both fading hard at this point.
Yeah, we're just scrolling the rosters like,
yeah, like this guy's a player.
Pick.
But
I'll tell you this. I'll go 4 playoff teams. Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
I got Billings, Northern Colorado, Missoula, Grand Junction, I believe, in hit batting in this league.
All right, we got 3 matching. I've got Missoula, Grand Junction, Northern Colorado as well, and I have Rocky Mountain mixed in there. With Ogden, Yolo, very close misses, specifically Ogden.
Yeah.
Like, watch Ogden be down the last day.
Yeah, there's a bunch of teams I thought were close, but not going to be good enough.
Yeah, agreed.
Champion out of those 4 things, we don't really know how the playoffs are going to work out. I go Missoula. They're always the team on paper.
I'll go Missoula. Yeah, it's hard not to, with the understanding that baseball's chaos. But I think it's just the smart pick at this point. Just to start the year, if you don't pick Missoula, you either know something or you know nothing.
That's the preview. Not saying it was good, but it was a preview. So. And now with the preview done, we have one more thing to get to this week, and it's also involving Yolo, and that is the lighting issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you want to intro this? Or?
The just general overview on it is they didn't expect the lighting to have the issue that it did, which is it doesn't illuminate enough of the field, and most of their games are night games. So they tend to get suspended due to darkness after only about an hour to 90 minutes of play. So this causes major issues, as you can imagine.
Yes. There are new lights put in at UC Davis's field for this year. Look, I mean, it happens. We saw in Northern Colorado have it happen last year, and it kind of cleared itself up as it got brighter as the year went on, and gave them a little bit of cushion to fix it. It seems like they've bagged their whole first long weekend of games, which sucks. But so that's kind of wild. That's going to be a scheduling headache down the road, or maybe not. I have no idea. But it is definitely.
Wait, that goes through this weekend?
Yeah, man.
Oh, they lose Memorial Day weekend?
I think they do. Oh. Brutal. Look, it happens. I get it. I'm not going to come down too hard on it. I was pleasantly surprised by the crowd they had their opening night because I haven't seen a ton of marketing from Yolo. It's frustrating because it's like watching it on the feed, like from behind home plate. It was like, oh wow, that's dark. Like it seems obvious. I don't know how it went. I don't know how that gets to that point without being called or noticed. That's all. It's the frustrating thing for me. I get, things happen. Growing pains, new ballpark, essentially new lights, at least for that ballpark, new team. It's just, it's frustrating.
It's one of those errors that really kills you, and you feel like at some point you could have factored this in by, turning the lights on in, say, March when it was dark out and getting a gauge for it.
Just ridiculous, but I don't know. Like, I feel like, is it, you want to point the finger at the team, but it's tough because, it's not like
they don't really own the ballpark. It's the college that owns the ballpark. So,
it's not even like they have an office there where they can, step out. I don't know where their office is, frankly. Maybe it is there, but I doubt it. It's, it's not like where, you get any other ballpark, you get new lights, you step out from the office, which is at the ballpark, and you give it a look. And you're like, I don't know. It sucks.
Yeah, it's
not
just
mad
one of
at
those things
anybody. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, it's just nothing they could really do about it. They were kind of at the mercy of the ballpark. So, and you mentioned, I think, at this point, would you have mentioned the 1-year contract?
Oh, I mean, we can. I don't really have anything to say on other than something to keep in mind.
Well, yeah, more or less my point with mentioning the fact that they only have a 1-year deal with Pioneer League. You're not really incentivizing the college to put in better lighting to accommodate this team if you're not making a long-term commitment.
That's true. And I've always been under the impression that this was a temporary arrangement either way.
Well, I mean, where else are you going to go?
No, I agree. I mean, Marysville's kind of near there, and that's kind of the one I was sniffing around. Yolo County has a ball club too. Not Yolo County. Yuba County has a ballpark too. I do think there's local options there. Actually, it's kind of a weird spot where there actually are ballparks. But I think, again, it's all sitting on a limb, which is either held up or sawed off by Oakland. So that's kind of the deal. What is coming out is that the team, both Oakland and Yolo, have 1-year contracts for the league. That is it. So that's one unusual significantly, and shows lack of commitment from either side, as well as the fact that, if you're UC Davis, how much you're going to invest in the field for this 1-year commitment. I don't even know if they stayed more than 1 year, if they would stay at UC Davis. So it's interesting. And hell, if I'm Oakland right now, I'm definitely checking out those lights if they're actually up, which I'm not sure they are. Because this got Northern Colorado last year. I'll circle back to the main topic there, but I will note, I think part of the issue is when you do go to check lights like that, it's dark and then it's bright, and boys, it seemed a hell of a lot brighter than it did when it was dark. So you're like, yeah, man, it lights it up good. But then when you're standing out there in the outfield, you're like, oh, actually, this is pretty damn dark. So I think that's part of it. Back to the main thing, really, which is the 1-year contract, which we're burying in this conversation, which is funny. But
yeah.
I'm not, why I'm not trying to talk about much is because it's going to open the can of worms of my annoyance with Oakland. Of all the talk about commitment, I'm like, dude, you got a 1-year contract. What are you promising long term? What are you doing? Unless, of course, you just want to be the California Savannah Bananas. But I'm sure they wouldn't say that. I'll take the opportunity, I guess, to say this, and I'll phrase it somewhat carefully. I like Pioneer League Commissioner Henry Hunter. I think he's good. I think he's taken some calculated risks over time. I think he's been not afraid to kind of go out in places that other people haven't, and it's led to some good things. I would just say I think we're looking at a result of an overeager and potentially less experienced commissioner, and
a leap before you look move.
Yeah, very much so. I think we're going to be wearing this one for a little bit, and I don't want to be negative. I just don't see. I mean, it's one thing to be like, I don't think that these things are going to pan out, but it's another to be like, hey, literally, there's no contract for next year. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, very much in mind.
definitely a situation to watch and something we'll continue to keep on looking at throughout the season and as more details arise. And so on that note, we're just about done here. So you want to plug your stuff and then I'll plug mine and then we will get out of here.
Yeah, Indie Ball Nation. I'll drop my own Pioneer League preview. I'll do it in a different format so we don't overlap each other too bad. Indie Ball Nation podcast platforms and YouTube and Instagram and Twitter. Just Indie Ball Nation across the board. Anything
for people to be on the lookout for coming up?
Yeah, I'll roll the Pioneer League video. I got, because I waited too long on the Frontier League preview, I got like a different type of video, which is sort of a twist on the preview. And then that's being edited now. So it should go up next couple days. And then Saturday, doing some dumb content with a buddy of mine who does not follow Indie Ball, trying to figure out what that's going to exactly look like. It might be a sort of live recording, cut and edited, because I don't necessarily want to do a live stream right now. But so keep an eye out for that. That should be interesting. Maybe we'll just, it might turn to a Indie Ball 101, might turn to a ranking jerseys, might turn to watching a game and being like, what the hell's going on here? So we'll see.
Any videos drop in the beginning of next week?
Yeah.
Don't have to say, but you know.
Touchback. Yeah, you no, it's a good reminder from you. Yes. Yeah, I worked with the YouTube channel The Touchback, which is in itself a hilarious name, by the way, for a YouTube channel. Underrated.
Bring it up to 25.
And he kind of does just some content's kind of all over the board, just random sports. Like he did like a couple deep dives recently on the AFL, so like the Arena Football League, not the Australian League. So that's how you know. But we kind of teamed up a little bit talking about the Oakland expansion for the Pioneer League, concerns with it, and maybe potential good with it. We'll see where he kind of goes with it from where him and I last talked. But that's over on his channel at The Touchback on YouTube.
All right then. Cool stuff. Cool stuff there. Indie Ball Pod on Twitter, Indie Ball Report everywhere else. I'm getting around to making more stuff. I'm not going to set dates or promise anything because every time I do, I don't follow through on it. So it doesn't really mean anything anymore.
That's kind of where I'm at too. So I was like, yeah, I'll come next couple days.
All that said, until next time, don't forget to play ball.